Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game SO. Today I got a very fun, very exciting, and very unexpected episode for you guys this evening, because just on Sunday I talked about the Doom 64 mods for Doom 1 and 2, bringing the world of Doom 64 into the original two Doom games, and now I am playing Doom CD32X Fusion. It is a mouthful of a title, and I tripped over it 8 times to get it right before you heard this one, but what it is doing is combining the best parts of every single Doom experience onto the Sega 32X, while also using the Sega CD attachment to give you the most ultimate version of a game ever made. This is an absolute feat of coding ingenuity and does something that no other game did on the Sega CD, 32X, or Sega Genesis in and of itself. It is just an absolutely wild accomplishment. I'll explain how they did it in just a moment. But honestly, getting something like a Doom mod like this at the same time that you're getting Doom 64 and Doom 1 and Doom 2 in basically the same week, it's an absolutely Doom-filled October. That makes total sense because it is the spooky season after all. But what this new version of Doom Resurrection is basically doing is it's utilizing the 32X as well as the Sega CD as well as the Sega Genesis to draw everything you see on screen. And don't forget, back in the day there were a few select games that used both the 32X and the Sega CD to give you even better graphics. So those are all FMV games and basically just used to have better clarity and more colors in the actual FMV videos. Sega or any other third-party developer never used the entire Tower of Power to make one game run that was actually a quote-unquote video game, but the developers here of this title have absolutely done that, making it probably the most technically impressive game to ever come out on the Genesis, the Sega CD, or the 32X all at once, and I can't even imagine the amount of code behind this. And it was a team that did this, not one individual modder, so I will leave a list of credits in the description, or else you'll be listening to me talk about names for the next minute. But this is the smoothest console version of Doom from this generation, and it includes so many new features of quality life improvements in all of the episodes as well. I will leave a link to the patch below and you can read over all of the new improvements. Honestly, it's like almost 100 of them, so it would take me forever to regurgitate everything. But you will see here at the beginning you can select Doom, Doom 2, Resurrection, or TNT Mini, and honestly you could play this title for probably 8 hours a week and still not see every new feature and every new level implemented inside of it. And if you're not aware what the Resurrection version of Doom is, basically it's utilizing this 32X version of Doom, but it rewrote almost everything to get actual good performance out of the Doom engine on Sega hardware. And you can totally tell here from the actual frame rate, this runs so incredibly well because the 32X version of Doom was not a bad version, but it could have been so much better, and a bunch of modders have come in over the years and basically continue to recode and clean up this version of the game, making it the best it possibly could. And now by putting the Sega CD into the mix as well, you get even more performance, more hardware improvements, and just more fun all around. And again, I can't stress enough just how impressive of a mod this is. Sure, Doom mods happen all day long, but people actually had to get this working in conjunction with every other bit of hardware. The Sega Genesis needs to talk to the 32X, the 32X needs to talk to the Sega CD. They all need to basically respond to one another to be able to put a game on the screen. So to say this was a small lift would be an absolute understatement. This is probably, honestly, the most impressive thing I've seen on the Genesis, 32X, or Sega CD side of modding in my entire time talking about videos on YouTube. Do be aware though that this currently does not work on Mr. FPGA because there is no implementation for the 32X CD based games, and I don't think there ever will be because honestly up until this point in time none of them were really probably worth even taking a look at. This is the first game to have the Tower of Power actually be something that you would want to enjoy. But you can 100% play this on original hardware if you have a 32X, a Sega Genesis, and a Sega CD all patched together ready to go, along with a flash cart and the ability to burn a disc. You can do this on real hardware. It is not going to be easy, it is cumbersome, but that's kind of the fun in it. And I did test this on my CDX as well as my 32X, and it did load for only about 45 seconds till my laser struggled to read the burnt disc, but that's just because that laser definitely is due for some servicing and probably a replacement. But the best part is this is just something you can enjoy today. It is a love letter to Doom, and it is something I never expected to see. All 3 bits of the Sega Genesis hardware working in tandem to play Doom. But if any one game was going to do it, of course it would be Doom. And you get that same classic soundtrack that you always know, love, and expect, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds for the quality, and I'll be right back with more. Sounds absolutely incredible. What else would you expect out of the Doom soundtrack coming from Sega Sound Hardware? And again, it is just such an impressive thing to see this, and I understand people have been modding Doom basically since Doom came out, but this is the upper echelon of mod work. It takes so much technical expertise to get all three of these pieces of hardware talking to themselves. And if you go take a look at the actual officially released 32X CD games out there, you're going to realize that it was a fun feature that never actually got taken advantage of. This is by far the first game that actually shows off what could have been done if a talented development team used all three pieces of hardware at once to make a game that didn't involve FMV video footage. This is just what you get. Of course, because it is Resurrection, you still get all of the increased frame rates, you get all of the performance gains, you get so many different things, as well as all of the new features coming over in this version of the game. And again, they are numerous, they're absolutely wild. There's some new lighting models, there's a bunch of different features. You're not even going to realize you see some of them until they actually pop up. The only one issue I had is every once in a while switches were a little bit hard to hit in this version of the game, but I've noticed that in Vanilla Resurrection as well. Leave me a comment down below if you've noticed that. For some strange reason, this switch here didn't want to work, and I don't think you have to hit the right switch before the left switch, but maybe I've forgotten about that because honestly, I played Doom so many times, even I can't remember exactly how every single thing works in this game. But this is amazing, even if it's going to be limited in use. I totally understand that not everyone's going to have the Tower of Power out there, and if you do, it's definitely something you should check out. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, do you have the 32X Sega CD and Sega Genesis hooked up and ready to go? Or are you somebody that uses software emulation or Mr. FPGA? Because this thing is the most impressive on real hardware just because it was never supposed to work that way. But honestly, Ares is such a good emulator. I could have told you this was real hardware and you probably never would have noticed. And now that this actually does work, maybe somebody will come along and make it work on Mr. FPGA, because now that there's a game worth doing the work for, sometimes that happens. We just recently got an update to the Super Nintendo Core when we had the Super Mario Bros. Maker ROM hack from Infidelity, so it's possible you see somebody go into the core and actually patch this up as well. As we move into the last level in the game, the Icon of Sin, it just is such a smooth experience here on the 32X, and this was not how the game ran back in the day. I would say the best console port from the 90s was probably the Atari Jaguar version, and the 32X was decent, but nothing to write home about, kind of an also ran. But here now, in the Resurrection version, with all of these new enhancements, it is definitely the way to play the game, unless you want to go Doom 64 style, and I will leave a link to that video down below as well. But if you're a Doom fan, you're having an absolutely awesome October because these mods keep coming out, and I'm sure they're going to continue to do so. People have been enamored with Doom since its year of release. They've been modding it to do absolutely everything they can possibly think of every year moving forward, and this is just the next stop in that mod train. But again, I've been doing videos for over 6 years on YouTube, and I am always hyper impressed that you can do stuff like this, have 3 games plus on the 32X using the Sega CD. This is the most impressive stuff I've seen, and if you can think of anything more impressive on the modding side of things, do leave me a comment down below. And don't forget, Doom 2 can be a very hard game in spots. I'm going to run into this room and absolutely get decimated because you do get a level select at the beginning of the game, so you can definitely use it to kind of pop around, see what's new, but if you go into the wrong level, you're going to end up very weak right off the top. But that's the thing about Doom mods and Doom in general, you can kind of make your own decisions, and at least in this instance of the game without level select, you can totally drop yourself into an area that you have no reason to be in because you should have had a lot of weapons from the previous levels. But again, this is just something I never expected to see. I never thought any modding team would ever try to use all 3 pieces of the Sega hardware from that generation to create a game utilizing that entire Tower of Power. I figured it would just be junky FMV video games that had their time and place and have come and gone. But now with this title, you can use all 3 pieces of the hardware to do what they were always meant to do, play actual video games. So Doom CD32X Fusion, a mouthful of a title, is 100% worth playing, and you could do a lot worse this Halloween season. Sure to that, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but we're done. Go play this game, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.